The Fulltime Bosscast.
To the Fulltime Bosscast.
Navigating the journey from a 9-to-5 to full-time entrepreneurship with your hosts, Ryan the Boss, and Lady Shay. Presented by Morningstar Printing, where we print pretty much everything.
Hello. Welcome to the Fulltime Bosscast, sponsored by Morningstar Printing, where we print pretty much everything. I am your host, Ryan the Boss, and we are here live at the Photo Video Spot Studio in Toronto. I am here with the co-hostess with the mostest. Yes, right. Trying that. Lady Shay, what's going on?
Nothing. How you doing today?
A lot better than last week.
For real.
A lot better than last week. Now, for those of you who tune in to like last week's episode with Deanna, who did an amazing job.
Amazing.
Oh man, it was deep. She carried the interview.
She did.
Because both myself and Lady Shay were a little sicky.
Yes.
But she good now.
Yes, we good now.
We good now. So we are good now. And we are ready to go with this week's episode. Thank you for your support. Thank you for your critiques. Thank you for your words of encouragement and all of that stuff. So without further ado, let's get this party started and let's get to our first interview.
Let's do it.
Okay. We are back, and I am pleased to introduce our guest for the day, Yui.
What's up?
Thank you for coming by to the Fulltime Bosscast studio. How are you doing, man?
Good, man. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. So, as a tradition here, I don't tell people what you do.
Okay.
I'm gonna, put the mic on you, put the spotlight on you. Tell the people what you do, sir, please.
Cool, man. So I am the creative director at Track Ops Media, where we do all kinds of media production, music production, creative direction, branding, music rights consultation, covering the full gamut of services to basically take any brand, any entity, any company from potential to production or to performance. Okay,
so you said a lot there, right? So I just want to just for those who are trying to kind of grasp exactly what you mean. So is it like do you handle musicians, like musical artists?
Yeah. So if our clients are musical artists or we are contacted by musical artists who need our services, a lot of the time it's people who are taking their music career seriously,
right,
and want to know what steps to take to monetize their music or where the money's coming from. I mean, if you look at the way the music industry is shaking out now, sometimes it's hard to tell where money can come from or how a certain product can be converted. And that's what we come and try to help with. Okay, so when you say ready to take your music seriously, that means they come in with some money. Because your services, let's keep it real, it's very good, it's very extensive, it's very whatever, but obviously there's a price on that, right? Yeah, so I mean, it would depend on what it is the artist needs. Sometimes it stops at just songwriting and music production, and they could take it. I mean, a lot of the time, a lot of these musicians are not lacking their own resources in some way, shape, and form, right? So maybe they might just need the advice, and they go back and take it to their team, and they start, proceeding accordingly, right? Or it might be something where they really need the full artist development package, where it doesn't just stop at artist development, but it goes into like branding, packaging. Oh, you do that as well? Yeah, we kind of like got put in a position where we kind of had to, and we started realizing that this was a need that. Right. Let's put it this way: a lot of artists are focused on making music. They just want to make music, right? And there's a lot of the other stuff they don't realize that making music is only 5% of the picture. It's a necessary 5%, but it's only 5%. Like when you get in front of a record label A&R, they'll listen to the first 30 seconds of the first song of like that entire EP you put your blood, sweat, and tears into, and then they look at everything else after that. Yeah. And if you've been neglecting all that, well, the conversation's not going to be a very long one. Artists, I hope you're paying attention. Just a little tidbit. Back before we did the Bosscast, I used to have some bars before printing. I used to do a little rapping, and I've actually visited his studio. So don't get twisted. I got bars. So if you come at me, you will get got. He does.
Okay?
He does.
I got bars. Moving on.
You got bars.
But the reason why I say that is because I understood, like when I came in, I didn't understand the full aspect of the industry.
Yeah.
You know, there's music, like you said, artists just want to do music.
Yeah.
But a lot of them fall off, quote unquote fall off, not necessarily fall off, but because it's the gravity of everything else is immense. It can be overwhelming.
Totally understand.
If you don't know what if you don't know what you're doing, right?
Yeah.
So essentially, like you know, you are like a one-stop shop. Would you say that? Can you handle from just recording to even getting contracts and stuff like that?
Yeah, so we've done it for ourselves. A lot of the music that we've made has placed on U.S. television networks, Disney, ABC.
Name drop, yo. Name drop, yo.
Nah, just like on shows like that. So we're the people that like a lot of music supervisors will come to after we've, you know, spent some time building up that network since getting our first placements in like 2015, 16.
Right.
We've kind of built up a network of music supervisors that'll tap in to us when we have song, like if they need a song that's like, let's say, a Katy Perry sound alike, but a Katy Perry song would cost the entire budget to basically clear for an episode, which they don't often get that much of a budget for.
Yeah.
And so they would tap into someone like me who can kind of get the feeling of that song with another singer and write that, produce it at much less of a cost to them.
So you write music, you produce music. What else? You keep saying we. I just want to know, like, what type
You
of
perform
team?
too?
Yeah, like, do you do everything? You said you're creative director. Do you do everything, or do you have other people that sort of help you out with some of these many, many tasks? Because it sounds like a lot for one person.
Yeah.
I know you're saying we. So
Yeah, I'm very fortunate to have a team that I had gotten together with prior to really starting. So my partner Marco, he does sound design, audio engineering. He's the one who designed the studio that we work in. He's a wizard, man. He's like Rain Man when it comes to sound design. Like he can just, I haven't heard too many people be able to get like that American pop standard, top 40 production. And if you listen to a lot of what we've been able to place, it's close, and obviously the fact that we've been able to play some of these is a testament to his ability as a sound producer as well. He's phenomenal.
With that Rain Man reference, you're kind of aging yourself, but you know.
I am old. Like, we can talk about all the other.
Yeah, we gotta pull out Rain Man, yo.
Like I'm
go into
old.
age.
Man.
So I'm seeing like you kind of briefly touched on it, but I'll do the gloating for you because according to my notes here, you went on ABC, ESPN, MTV, VH1, Oxygen, and more. So it's like, even though you may not, and correct me if I'm wrong, have had like a Billboard top 10 charting, whatever, to some of the producers out there, up and coming artists and yada yada, there are other ways to get the bag, is what I'm saying.
So many other ways. So I was fortunate in 2013, shortly after we parted ways working in the finance industry. I was fortunate to get a job working for Canada's biggest music company, which is SOCAN. SOCAN is a performing rights and now a reproduction rights organization as well.
Right.
And
so hold on. So SOCAN, just to layman it out a bit, is where all artists have to register, right? If you want to get, if you want to be recognized officially in Canada, at least, right? You have to go through SOCAN. And he used to. What did you tell us?
So I was in the member relations department, and eventually, after 7 years or after 5 years, ended up as the supervisor of that department. And what that department was it would help our members or SOCAN members who were music creators or music publishers with their catalogs in terms of what they wrote and the rights that they owned on the songs.
Okay.
And and I was fortunate enough to get this gig because I myself was obviously a music creator, and the job essentially paid me to teach, for me to learn how to make money off of this craft.
Nice.
So that's
so you
why
took advantage of that opportunity.
Yeah, that's why when you say like what was the transition, it was like, my goodness, like here I am in a situation that's paying me a very good living. I'm like bilingual work and like eventually moving up from team lead to supervisor. Like this was a very livable salary in an environment where I was actively learning how to
do what you truly love
my
and
own
want
product, right? So it would be like akin to if you were like if you really wanted to be a chef or something, and then getting a gig at Jacob's Steakhouse, and then just working
Soaking
under
it in.
those people, or getting to and then being paid, and then eventually not just learning how to make a better steak, but like running the business of the restaurant.
So essentially, you
right?
took advantage of the opportunity that was provided to you, right? Would you say, like, before you got to the whole SOCAN stuff, as you mentioned, what some people may not know is that we both came from the same call center back in the day, right? So what was the motivation for you to get out of said call center?
That's so funny because we were there together for that point of motivation. I don't know if you remember that shortly after I think I got hired, because we did our training together with you remember
one of them.
It doesn't matter, but and then shortly after that there was this huge reorganization.
Yeah,
and like
everything,
people from the very top were getting taxis.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? And I was like, wow. No matter how high you get, no matter where you think you've reached in a corporate, and you suddenly realize all it takes for your entire world to be turned upside down, to be shattered, is for one person, and that's the direct person above you, to have a bad day.
Yeah.
That's it. So to me, I think
you're at the whim and the power of you're at the mercy of someone else.
Exactly. I being like kind of like, I just didn't like that. It wasn't so much, man, I want to be up. It was just like, I don't like that idea. And it wasn't like I don't have any like ego about calling someone boss or whatever. Like I don't have that problem, but I have a problem with my entire well-being and livelihood being in the hands of somebody who is,
emotional, potentially.
Yeah, and they could be the most reasonable person for like 2-3 years straight. They have one bad day. Their wife leaves them, something cataclysmic, and then I'm on the butt end of that. And there I am in the taxi with everyone else. No matter where I am, on that ladder, on that food chain, you're never high enough to be outside of it. The only way to be outside of it is to have something, to me, is to have something you own.
Exactly.
And that kind of, put the fear of God in me.
So you saw that in the call center, but you still went to SOCAN. So was your move to SOCAN strategic because you knew you wanted to get into the music industry?
I love that. It was. And it was basically like, I didn't leave the finance industry for SOCAN. In the middle there, I had a contract making music for a television station in China.
Okay.
And it was like the mobile. So what had happened was this TV station, which is like kind of like that city of 15 million people, right? Their CTV, so like their breakfast television and stuff, right? Excuse me. And they had just purchased the mobile network. So basically what it was like 60,000 buses or 80,000 cabs. Like if you've been to New York, you know they have these little screens in the cabs.
Yeah.
That's like monopolized by, I think it's like NBC. So like every time you're in the cab, you just see like Jimmy Fallon or like whatever programming short it is that they want. Yeah. So they ended up buying those screens and all those buses and taxis, and we kind of got the look to make the music for that. So and
so you were just producing beats, producing songs.
It wasn't as fun as beats, but it was like jingles. Yeah, jingles. Yeah, it wasn't like...
And the point is what I'm trying to say is that you may not have been doing like, Drake stuff. No, you know what I mean?
I'm still not doing Drake stuff.
I'm just saying.
If you're watching.
Right?
Exactly. Yeah, holler at your boy. I got some beats still.
But you're still managing to make a living. Right?
Yes.
While you're transitioning to doing what you truly love.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Just by taking advantage of opportunities that not everybody may have seen the true value in that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I feel like a lot of people look at it as glitz and glamour.
Yeah.
Like this, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
like it's not all glamorous. I mean, a lot of it isn't glamorous from what I'm hearing. So
it's a very slow grind. It's like, and the whole thing is like, you got to be able to adapt. Like, and you got to be okay sometimes with doing things that are going to be a stepping stone. Like you have to be very, I think that's the big thing is like being cognizant of this is not the final destination.
Yeah. The process.
Yeah. And I think that's a really, and sorry, I know I didn't really answer your question yet, but to circle back on that, because I got the job at SOCAN, it made me realize, oh man, they MTV will pay X amount when they license a song for this kind of usage for this amount of time. And I was like, yo, we could do that.
Yeah.
And it was just a matter of doing it. And then like I looked like a madman, like just making songs and having people come in. What are you making these songs for? Are you putting out an album? No.
No, just
no. Are you putting these on radio? No. So what are you doing? Don't worry.
Yeah.
Right, because I work at SOCAN, right? I know.
You know the science of it.
Right?
Yeah.
But if I told the people at the time and I was like music supervisor, you'd be like, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
wow.
what are you, right? So like I was like, okay, just trust me. Let's just work.
Yeah.
Trust me on this. I
just keep
see
putting
how the
together
money-
these little beats and
Yeah.
doing these little things and that really.
I'm seeing like commercials for SeaWorld, $10,000 licensing fee. Like I'm seeing like World Cup soccer usage, this amount, and I'm like, that's up front. Right. That's one right.
Look at that.
The back end, performing rights, which was SOCAN's main gig, was a whole other royalty that you could collect on the back end.
Wow.
As the music creator,
and these are stuff people don't know.
And that's why, like someone like you were so powerful as the rapper, the owner of the recording, and the writer of all the music, right? Because those three make you the owner of all the rights that matter.
Yeah. And I got bars, just making sure.
He's got bars, right? He's a performer, right?
Put out an album soon.
So you had it all. You were the performer of the music, the creator, which meant you wrote it. You were performer, you were the vocalist, right? And you were the owner. You paid for you could show
and this
the
is
invoices.
the business behind
That's
it.
the business, right? So the minute you realize that the ownership of these rights, when converted, when broadcast in certain situations, when reproduced, right, when taken and put in an audio-visual context, right, and the more at the forefront, the better. Meaning, like, if the song is a theme song, you get paid more. If the song is background music, you get paid less. But knowing that, I think we basically just started set the goal and work backwards from there.
And would you say just before I get into the next question, would you say there was a lot of competition in that? Because are everyone trying to go this way? And because you went this way, is that there's people in it, but it's not. Is it as cutthroat as say getting beats to artists or stuff like that?
It's cutthroat in the sense like if I'm a music supervisor and you're my homie, I may give you the look even though your music's not as good as this person's. Right? It's that kind of nepotism a little bit. Yeah, it's still networking.
Yeah.
You still have to like rub people the right way in when you meet them and make them feel like you can be someone they can work with on a regular basis, right? Because these people continue to get projects to supervise. Right. Music supervisors are that because they'll be working on Digstown one season and then the next they may switch over to like an MTV show, but you always want to be on their radar. Right? And like anything, right? You're going to give your homie the look before you give, right?
Exactly.
Before you ask for resumes, right?
So networking is really important.
That's what I was about to ask you. Like some of the challenges, would you say that you had to overcome? Like, was there any like real challenges building up? You did mention the networking aspect.
I think if you're in the music industry or in the media production side of things, the big challenge is being in a city that's not really flourishing. For that. Right, where that's not really something super flourishing. Yes, we have stuff like the Toronto International Film Festival. Yes, we have stuff like hip hop. Like the Drakes and the Weekends and like they're exports though. Right. At the end of the day, like we have very little homegrown and like there's very little activity on a homegrown
like an industry
level. And that's it's just we're budding. Like we're just starting to come up and starting to come into our own. Whereas people like New York and LA have had these identities and this industry for so long, right? So it's good to see. It's really good to see. But is it good for immediate? Right. So like I guess a testament to the networking I've had to do is the fact that I don't really have much going on here in Canada. All of my action and all of the placements that I've been getting are on US TV just because it seems like that's the playground that is again, you have to go to where, like if you want to hunt tigers, you got to go to the jungle, right? It can't, you're not going to find that kind of game here.
Has COVID kind of stunted that, like just with the whole traveling stuff and yada yada yada? Right.
I haven't had the chance to do as much traveling as I'd like to. I should have started again by now, but Omicron hindered a trip that I was supposed to take to.
You say Omicron?
Is that not how it's said? I haven't been outside.
I like that one.
Omicron. Omarion virus.
I've heard another different, but Omicron.
Omicron. I don't know.
That's a new one, yo.
Is it? What?
No, that's
Omicron.
Isn't it Omicron?
Omicron? I have no idea.
I know. Anyways, moving on. So it doesn't matter. So now you mentioned
Tomato,
like in our
tomato.
pre-interview, you were talking about the importance of having good people around you, and do you want
my
to speak on that a little bit?
Yeah,
Like-
definitely. I think like just going back to what I was talking about before you said, let's save it for the interview.
Yeah.
Is I think a big part.
Thank you, Yui.
Right? I can do that one. Right? That's okay. All right. So I think a big part of why I've been able to kind of navigate this is really just being in the right place at the right time, meeting the right people, right? That was a big, I think it's always been something that has kickstarted either a really cool new direction in my life or just expanded upon something I was already doing in a way that I couldn't have done myself. And I think that's really what people should be looking for in a teammate, and teams, in a team and in teammates, right? How do I say this? Like, it's not necessarily like it's different from like chilling, right? You're not looking for those kind of vibes. You're looking for people who are complementary to you,
to what you do.
Yeah, they might not necessarily eat the same food as you. They might not necessarily like to dress the same or talk the same music. Marco and I don't even listen to the same music.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? Like.
But his drive complements your drive. His talents complement your talents.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Everything I can't do, this guy can.
Right.
Right. So this, I mean, and like his willingness to learn what we don't know. So for example, we stopped working. I stopped making music after making music for that TV station in China.
Yeah.
After I got my gig at SOCAN, and then shortly after that TV station came back around and said they needed content. I was like, content? And mind you, I hadn't. But I was like, right then and there, I realized I could pitch something right now to these people because they're just telling me they got. And I kind of gave them an idea. I was like, well, how about this? Because like you have to think about it like this. In China, a lot of the shows that like blow up are like, I don't want to say copycats, but they kind of take formulaic shows of what's worked here, like America's Got Talent, you know, like that kind of thing, and they kind of like repackage it for something over there. But the problem with that is those are very high production value shows.
Yeah.
Meaning you got to put a lot of money into that stuff and hire big celebrities and stuff to make that show watchable.
Yeah.
You don't want to do that for like a small scale TV, like a mobile network, right? You're not going to put that kind of. So I said, okay, look, like, here's an idea. How about, you know, if, you know, you guys step out of the country, you'll start seeing your country, China, you'll start seeing that the Chinese community outside of China is starting to get bigger than the one inside of China. You see what I'm saying? Like, just so many
the
Chinese
diaspora.
People. Yeah, it really is crazy. There's not a place in the world you don't find some of us. So why don't we look at how, you know, we have rerouted ourselves from the motherland to these various places, and you know, and we called the concept Rerouted, and we said, look, like, this is a cool concept that could be applied to different.
So hold on. So just
please.
This has nothing to do with other thing. You kind of threw me off with the motherland. I've never heard a non-black person say the motherland,
well,
but it makes sense.
That's our motherland.
No, that's what I'm saying. Is that like a term you guys? No, I'm saying is that like a term that is used, like the motherland? I know this has nothing to do with it. I just had to kind of. I was like,
we call it mainland.
The mainland,
mainland. But I've heard it called motherland as well by people. Who
I mean, it makes sense.
Yeah,
but but you know when you're just used to like the motherland. Yeah, maybe.
I would call it that because I was born here. Right. And I would look at that as something where it's like. Okay, it's like it would be like something I would want to go home to.
Okay,
right. So in like a lot of ways, it was about just getting rerouted.
Right, getting rerouted. Yeah,
definitely. And like.
So how did Marco help with that though? Because you're mentioning like him being part of your team.
And this is where we talk about adaptability and the willingness to understand that like a lot of the time your attitude is your altitude. He was like, oh, okay, so this is what we're doing. I'm going to figure out how to shoot. And what we have is like if you look at the trailer, if you look at the 4 episodes we delivered. It looks like a Vice-style documentary this guy put together. This is why I'm saying, like, finding people that know and are willing to sit down and learn a program and have this critical, right, like not fall enough to fall out of love with themselves, right, and say, hey,
humble
enough to fall out of love with themselves and say, look, what I'm doing here is not quite how do we get it from here to here?
Yeah.
Right. And he had that. And that's why, like, this is a very presentable, it's a presentable documentary that we have retained the rights to and now are currently working on pitching to various platforms like Netflix, Hulu, and the like. So these are just opportunities we see that, you know, once you have made the preparation, we can try to expand. And if I manage to swing that, it would mean that now I can provide a platform to artists and come back full circle and say, hey guys, now I have this show.
Right.
That's and now you know that with a concept like this, trademarked and copywritten, by the way, copyrighted, not copywritten, that's copyrighted, by the way. It's something that can grow, and it's something that can be taken and extrapolated to different now Indians, black people, like just different cultures across the board. So
that's cool.
We're hoping for that.
So with your team, how many people do you have all together on your team?
That's a great question, man. So like the team, when you say team, is on a per project basis.
Okay.
No, I mean like the core, like your actual. Because you say Marco. Is it just you and Marco the main guys?
And I have I would say Brent as well. BG, he's been a critical factor in a lot of when it comes to line production, just making sure that people show up. Like there's so many moving parts.
Right.
Once you get out of music and expand into media, right? Like we've been shooting commercials for a footwear brand. And just having, stunt people, people like, because this shoe is about.
And this goes back to your network, getting, stunt people, for instance. And like you said, camera, different camera people, sound people, because at the end of the day, you don't know everything.
No,
you know what I mean?
And you can't, if you want, if your goal is for the product, I think, to be as good as it can be, you have to remove your ego and very quickly assess and evaluate what you're capable of, what you can do, and what you can't.
Wow.
If you can't do it, you got to find someone who can. I'm very lucky to know people like Marco, to know people like BG, to know people like Alan, my brother-in-law, who's a phenomenal director of photography. So he's a cinematographer. He worked in Hollywood. He's worked on Steven Spielberg sets.
Do you think that
Black Panther?
Wow, that's pretty cool.
Godzilla. That's my man. He's serious.
He's big time. So do you think that these things that you I guess delegated to other people, right? Do you think that you could have done it yourself?
No.
But it just wouldn't have been as good. But like, because like you said, some people don't have the humility to say, I can't do this. They're like, I can do this. And then like they try to just do everything themselves, a master of everything. I mean, sorry, jack of all trades, master of none. Do you think that was there any point that you saw yourself potentially falling into that before you had to take yourself back and say, hey, wait a minute, let me see if I can get others to do this? I have a
second part to that question.
Yeah.
Did you have the ability and the capital to outsource these things from the beginning? Because a lot of people starting out don't have the money to get the experts.
And that's where I was going.
They don't.
Okay. Same thing.
It's a two-part question. I'm adding my second part. I guess you were going to get there. But, your ability to do that is probably, is it related to the growth that you've had? Like, did you start out being able to say, I'm going to hire this person and that person and that person and that person? Like, how do you even get
exactly there? Because like a lot of entrepreneurs, especially starting off, they get into that habit of trying to do everything, and then once they get bigger, they forget that they don't have to do that anymore. Anyways, Karen, go ahead. Do you want to touch on that?
Yeah, man. Okay, so just to get let me try to tackle the first part of the question, which was did I feel like I had to do everything myself? And the answer is, I think I only stepped in when I felt like I couldn't find anybody. Like so for example, like I never wanted to mix, right? I never felt like I wanted to like be the one to like tune vocals. When you don't have the money to outsource it, you got to learn it. I was lucky enough that we were able to do it to a level that was very competitive. That's why Marco ended up having to learn how to shoot. He had to end up having to figure out
you couldn't
the camera.
afford someone to shoot it.
And even if we could, the budget that was provided to us, it didn't make sense. We would have to maybe go more out of pocket than we already is a shoestring budget, right? So like we had to be really strategic with how we appropriated the budget every time we got a project. And until we turned around a project that was good enough that we could use as a demo to get a real properly financed project. It was always, trying to make do without making doo-doo. And I think that's always the biggest challenge, right? And
So to Cheryl's point, then there was a time where you guys had to do that on you until you kind of figured out what you want to do. Okay.
But correct me if I'm wrong. Your industry, you get a contract or a project, you get upfront funds. So you budget those funds to complete whatever you need to complete.
Yep.
But in order to get it to the quality at the beginning, sometimes you would have to learn how to do things yourself because it wasn't a greater budget.
Yeah, and sometimes you just really have to know how to get in a room and sell an idea too. Right? Like make people
sell water to a well.
Fake it till you make it.
Yeah, like Hove, right? Like the whole thing with that is like when you get into a room, like the idea has to sound good enough that they buy into it. And I think my problem, and you can call it a problem or you can call it, something that's gotten me, on a podcast like this, is that I try not to say no to anything. Like I'll try to just build the plane in the sky. I'll say yes and just kind of try to learn it.
All right.
Yeah. So Huey, thank you for coming. Thank you for sharing all of this information with us. The last thing we'd like to ask you is whether or not you have some advice for anybody who is either trying to go into entrepreneurship or even trying to go into your industry. Like, what advice do you have for the people?
Okay. It's never too late to start figuring out what you love and start planning around how to convert that. But don't do it without making a plan. So like follow your heart, but take your brain with you, I think is how it goes, right? Yeah. So make sure you're planning for that and making, a proper strategy as to how to move from step A to B to C to D.
That's it. I think so. All right. Well, thank you. So have a plan, go to it. I didn't have my I forgot to put up my wall poster today.
Discipline breeds
success. It's not there today, but it's all good. Okay, Yui, thank you very much for coming. Thank you for your insight. Thank you for all the gems that you was dropping, and all the best to you and the Track Ops family. Don't worry, you'll be seeing all the ways to contact him in case you want business or just advice or anything like that. And until next time, thank you, Bosscast family, and have a great week. Cheers. Bye.